Good morning, Dual Coast fans. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Dual Coast Podcast. We got Russ hyped up over there on the West Coast right now. Early morning for him.
Oh, baby.
Toga, Russ Rogers. How's everybody doing this morning? Russ, how you feeling this morning?
Dude, my eyes didn't want to open this morning. 4:50, man, that alarm went off, and I was like, oh. It's like a boxer coming out,
That's true. It's a rough one for Russ this morning.
Taking some licks this morning,
Absolutely.
Still in recovery mode over the weekend.
What happened over the weekend?
Oh, dude, it was an exciting weekend in Santa Cruz, Impact Santa Cruz. It was so much fun. We had a great time. We had a great event. The venue was unbelievable. Highway 17 Studios, they're a production company, so it was definitely, from their standpoint, a production, and they hit it out of the park. So I'm so thrilled to have worked with them, and I'm so excited going forward with what some possibilities are with them. Great crowd, and just each one of the speakers delivered. It was just an amazing time. And then Michael Rourke, my buddy that I grew up with, who does Sinatra Sounds, he came in and did some Frank Sinatra songs. He did 2 before and 3 during the break. Was just awesome. Everybody received him so well because he sounded so good. And then Karina and I were over in the corner in this storage container, and it had a curtain, and we did the big reveal, which people will see and videos coming up, and it was just awesome. It really kind of broke up everything. And then Elizabeth came in, Borelli, she came in later, and we did another interview there, but both of them did phenomenal. So the event was well received in the community. Looking forward to next year. One thing that I learned, though, because last year you were at it, we had the event in May, and I thought, you know what, we'll move it to a Saturday, and let's just see what happens, right?
Right.
And it just so happens it was like 80 degrees out. So beaches were full on Saturday. So sometimes it's like, oh, do I want to go sit in an event? Do I want to go to the beach? Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
So it was, we're going to bump it up next year. We're going to go to March 13th, 2027. Already got it on the calendar.
Nice.
Because it's just, I looked at, May's got Mother's Day, it's got Memorial Day, it's got graduation, school gets out. It seemed like there wasn't a lot that was happening, and we just sandwich it right in there, but there's a lot that's happening. So March, before Easter, well before Easter, before spring breaks, I think, maybe we can draw something. In the weather in March is, could be one way or the other. It's not necessarily summertime, but, I just came away from the event, just feeling so good about it. So I'm looking forward to not only next year, which is, 10 months away, but I'm pumped from the event.
Yeah, man. Give us a little rundown of what's going on the rest of this year, though, with Impact events.
Oh, man. So, we went and did some debriefing yesterday with my staff. I've got some more debriefing this week. And then next week, I'm going to kind of have a chill week, other than, the podcast, going to kind of take it low a little bit, focus on my other side business. And then, in the fall, we'll start gearing up, which we kind of tinkered with yesterday. We'll start gearing up for Minneapolis, which is September 19th, and then Pittsburgh on October 17th. So 2 more Impact events this year. It's kind of nice having the summer to plan and prepare, have a little bit of break, because, Portland and Santa Cruz back to back, it's a lot of work. It's a lot to, implement. Ready for the challenge. I've got the team to do it. So I'm hyped up for next year, but I'm really excited about Minneapolis and Pittsburgh. So Impact those cities, September 19th, October 17th.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, those are health and wellness summits, guys, that Russ has, called Impact events. Latest one was just in Santa Cruz over the weekend. We have Pittsburgh and we have Minnesota coming up later on this year. Please check it out. Russ, where can they find some of the information about that?
RussellRogers.net. That is where you go. So if you go there, you can click on events, and when you pull down events, you'll see the dates, the locations, the times, and everything, and then you can actually, purchase your tickets right there on the spot on that landing page.
Awesome, man.
RussellRogers.net. Man, what's going on with you?
Doing my thing lately, man. Working on the podcast a little bit right here for our viewers. Everything going pretty well, man. We got some stuff going on with Slice of Charity, which is pretty interesting right now, working with some veteran presence on Long Island. So we're shaping up some events for the veterans, which is going to be great, hopefully up in the coming months. That's really coming together really nicely. So, we're looking to get some stuff together. I don't have a lot to reveal at the moment, but we got some stuff in the works that we're going to talk about pretty soon. The charity's going really well. Other than that, man, doing some stuff. That's pretty much it.
Right on, man. Well, I want to bring up a heavy topic.
Yeah, bring something up.
Heavy topic is May is Mental Awareness Month.
Oh.
Now, Karina Reed, who is an 8-time personal trainer of the year, has spent her lifetime overcoming obstacles. An amazing woman, an incredible story that one of hope for a lot of people who are out there who are struggling with mental illness. And we're going to call it mental obstacles or mental challenge. We're not going to call it an illness. She overcame 19 years ago, and she basically was born into a home with, addiction. And so she was addicted, to drugs, alcohol, everything. And then 19 years ago to this day is clean as a whistle.
Yes.
Phenomenal story. Still having to work at it each and every day because there's always that inclination in your body, in your mind that challenges you with that says, let's just dabble in a little bit, right? But I was watching about, I don't know, a week and a half ago, I think it was on ESPN. It was one of those short stories about, I'm trying to remember his name. Robinson. I think it's Robinson. He's a shooter. And anyway, his brother, they showed some clips of them growing up, and he struggled with mental challenges and ended up jumping off of a bridge and living, which is unbelievable. The bridge, I believe, was like 135 feet high, which is way up there.
Wow.
He ended up living, but like punctured a lung, broke some ribs, and so they battled it. The family battled it with their kid, their sibling, and then he seemed to be doing okay, and then he kind of fell back, and he went back to that same bridge sometime later, jumped again, and this time didn't survive.
Wow.
Awful, awful story. And I just want to bring this month to the limelight and put it in front of people's faces about how real mental illness / challenge / obstacles / hurdles this is. It's real, people who are listening. And if you are one of those who are struggling today, take that step now and seek help. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it on your own. And it's like a drug rehab, place. Like, yeah, people can, family members can take you in there and get you help. But if you don't want to be there, you're not going to get the help that you want. So it's something that you have to seek. And obviously, sometimes you're just not in that mental clear state to where you are able to function to do those things, So we do need family. We need new friends. We need help. We need, therapists. We need people in this world who are helping people with mental challenges. And you mentioned off air about Dan Sikowski having a friend. Why don't you just, kind of fill in a little bit and chime in on that?
Yeah, I mean, many people listening know Dan Sikowski or follow Dan Sikowski. We've had him on our podcast, big entrepreneur, but he had a gentleman on his podcast. I'm a little bit, I don't know the details so much, but he had a gentleman on his podcast last week who was discussing depression and mental health. And then last night or the night before, that gentleman actually took his own life. Dan posted about it, and Dan was pretty choked up about it. I could tell from his, Instagram posts. But yeah, it's something that's very concerning and very real. And as Russ was saying, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I believe since the 1940s, this month has been Mental Health Awareness Month, actually. We've had multiple guests on who have talked about this, and multiple guests actually who have dealt with these issues simultaneously, I would say. And those people have sought out the help that they needed over the years, and most of them have been successful in getting better, or working towards getting better. And it is something that's very real, right, Russ? And
Absolutely.
it's something that I think, as a podcast, I think need to talk about actually a little bit more simultaneously. But yeah, it's very real, and it's very there.
Yeah. We had a gal, I called an audible in the middle of the event on Saturday, and I brought this lady up, Camille Ellis. She's a grief counselor, and we don't want people to get that far.
Yeah.
She is there to help people that deal with grief. And of course, there's all different types of grief, right? But most of it comes through, through death, dying, separation, those kinds of things. We wish we didn't have those kinds of counselors, and we didn't need those kinds of counselors, but grief is a part of our life each and every day. But there are people out there who are in situations, and it makes me think, Dan, it makes me think, like, sometimes, not sometimes, how many times, like, when we meet somebody, we just like, hey, how you doing? How's things going? How's the family? Blah, blah, oh, everything's great. We're doing good, and everything. And we just give that comb over answer, right? Or we just ask those top of the level, questions to the conversation.
Yeah.
Just to fill in time. But for those of us that know people and know people better, and especially we sometimes often know those people who are struggling with things, we've really got to ask the deeper question.
Yeah.
We've got to dive in, and then not just ask, but how can we help? What can we do for you? What, can I take this to the next level, right? But again, it goes back to what I said earlier. The individual has to want it.
Yeah.
And sometimes, Dan, they're not in the right mindset to do those kinds of things.
Sure.
So we have to be aware of those people around us, but we also have to ask the deeper question to those people to getting them the right help.
No, it's true, because a lot of times when you see somebody on the street or see somebody you haven't seen in a while, you ask the baseline question, hey, how you doing? And then somebody either says one of two things, I'm doing great, or I'm so busy. And those are the two generic answers.
That's so true.
And
so true.
It's a classic line, but nobody asks how you really doing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody goes to that depth and says how you really doing, unless they're somebody you see on a daily basis or something along those lines, and you say, I know what's going on, type of thing. You could say in your head, how you really doing? But yeah, we really have to ask those questions, because people don't get the opportunity. I think a lot of times is one of the biggest things, and they carry that with them. They carry that weight with them every single day. And then that weight eventually builds up to something worse and worse and worse. And then, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back from that standpoint. But I do think that's something that we, as a community, need to kind of dive into a little bit more and ask people what's really going on. How's everything, family, this, that, business, whatever it may be, because we don't really ask those deeper questions. I mean, that's, we ask the baseline generic question. How is everything? Oh, it's great. Okay. That's it.
I think, also from the standpoint of the person that's answering the question, is the lack of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Right? Not wanting to be vulnerable and not opening up. And also the feeling of not wanting to put it on other people's shoulders, right?
Sure.
To carry their burden.
Sure.
Like, I don't want to put it on them, because I don't want them to carry my burden.
Sure.
Right? So people, don't want to be vulnerable, and people, don't want to be seen. They don't want people to know about their life.
Absolutely.
And then they don't want to unload on other people, because they don't want them to have to carry the burden that they're carrying, right? So those are a number of things, that people deal with. And it's just important. Like, and I'll give you an example. Just Sunday night after the event, the next day, Dan Sikowski and three friends of mine, we went out to dinner on Sunday night. And, we're sitting outside. It's a beautiful evening in a town next door called Soquel. And we're just sitting out there enjoying some great company and actually diving into some deep conversation.
Really?
It's up to you. There are some deep questions that were asked. It's up to you if you want to answer.
Yeah.
Right. And so Melissa, who's sitting next to me, she is she was on our podcast with Dan Jenkins last week.
Yes.
And she became very vulnerable about her son. I opened up about my son, very vulnerable. And it became kind of an emotional session around the dinner table. So if we become vulnerable, it's a release for us, because as parents, as siblings, friends, we do carry that burden to some level. And of course, as a parent, it's even stronger, because you don't want to see your kids going, through anything. And my son, this was a year ago. So he's doing much better now. So, but there's still that emotion from knowing where he was at a year ago. That was just, was awful.
Yeah.
And so knowing that now we're in a different, we're in a different position. And so, but a lot of people don't get in that different position, right?
Yep.
So when we become vulnerable, when we become open, then what we do is we create accountability with other people, because then it's really the response of the people that are listening to really come back to that individual and check in.
Sure.
Right? If somebody's going through that struggle, come back and check in with that person a day or two later, a day or two later, so that if you put it off, then sometimes it may be too late, right?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a vulnerability is the hardest barrier to break, though. That's the hardest barrier, because you have to be vulnerable in order to accept the fact that something's wrong, and you have to be able to express that to somebody else in order to develop that accountability partner right there. Which
just
is
like you said, oh, I'm good. Things are fine.
Because most people don't want to admit that something's wrong. They just want to stay on the surface level right there. Don't want to break any barrier with that other person, because, like you said, now it puts a burden on the other person in some degree. However, we as a community or a society should be willing to take on a little bit more burden sometimes of somebody else's well-being, their mental health, whatever's going on with them, their physical health. If you notice, a lot of people will be more apt to talk about their physical health than their mental health. They will say, yeah, I was in the hospital. They'll say that's fine. That comes out, no problem. Mental health, people don't really dive into so much. That's more, I'm great. Don't worry about it. I'm doing fine. It's a matter of breaking that vulnerability. But like you said, too, and accountability partners come in a lot of ways, shapes, or forms. It could be, somebody at work, somebody in your community, a friend, family member, whatever it may be. And I think that's a great thing to have in more than one way, especially from a mental health standpoint, because people could just check in with you on a daily basis. Hey, what's up? How's everything going? Tell me a little bit about your day, something along those lines. Even if it's somebody just to have to socialize to some degree, because some people don't even have that person to socialize with. And sometimes that may actually just make things way better for them, because maybe what was lacking in their life was that social aspect, and they didn't have somebody just to even talk to about something. To tell them how their day was, what they're doing, what they're working on, how work was, life balance, whatever it may be. A lot of people don't have that social aspect. And I think that's something that's huge. Even if you have an accountability person from that standpoint, even somebody you work with, just to text back and forth or call each other on a daily basis or every other day, whatever it may be, and just say, hey, what's going on? How's your wife? How's your family? How's your kids?
Yeah.
Finances, whatever like that. That's another thing nobody talks about is finances. That is not that money. Hey, how's everything with your job? It's great, but nobody will ever break that barrier between mental health and finances, because they don't want anybody knowing anything about that. It's a lack of, people have too much pride. That's what it is people have too much pride to be vulnerable. And then once they, kind of get into a conversation with somebody they feel comfortable with, I feel like that's something that they could open up a little bit more about. But everybody on a surface level standpoint, yeah, I'm doing great, but that's not always the case.
Yeah. So getting people help, helping them to, overcome, some of those situations, getting them help, kind of steering them in the right direction. But for those that are struggling, one of the best things that you can do is to get outside and really get some of that sunshine vitamin D, that we all need, because the sunshine, it not only shines upon us, but it really can bring a lot of clarity. And it's not just doing it one time, but getting into a regimen of getting outside and walking and just getting that fresh air each and every day. So if you're living in the inner city, go to a park. Find a park that you can walk, you can get around the trees, you can get around flowers. There's dogs, there's happiness, running around, children playing. Just enjoy that, but do it on a regular basis. It's not going to heal you, but it's going to help you. And, if you're lucky like me, you live by the ocean, you live by the mountains, take a walk amongst the trees, get by the ocean, just hear the water or a stream, just get out in nature, because those are one of the things that we can do to help combat the mental health challenges that people are suffering. But if you are struggling today, I really encourage you to seek some guidance, to seek some help, and don't delay it. We always talk about taking the first step. That is the first step of action, is realizing where you're at, and then really seeking help, because there's all kinds of help that is in and around you. And we don't want to get to the point to where Dan's friend, who was just on his podcast, takes his own life. I mean, that is a very sad story, that someone slipped through the cracks some way, somehow, and ended up, taking this. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. But help people and get them help, and help, and get them out, take them out, encourage them to go on a walk with you, and try to have some of that deeper conversation if you're able to.
Yeah, for sure. And accountability partners don't always come from a mental standpoint. They could come from that physical aspect also, right? You
That's
can get
right.
somebody and say, hey, did you get outside today? Hey, did you get in the gym today? Hey, did you do a little bit of cardio today? Did you go for a walk? Whatever it may be. You can have accountability partners in that standpoint also. And that may help you, both from a physical and mental aspect, because
Yeah.
like you said, getting outside in nature will help you with both. Sometimes the physical helps the mental. And we've had many, many, many guests, almost probably all of our guests, who have said that the physical helps the mental in some degree. And
Absolutely.
the training aspect, you have guys like Frank Seppi who are in the gym. You have all the people who talk about the supplementation, like Tyler Penzner, who we've had on the podcast, things of that nature, where a lot of things play into the mental health and the mental clarity that you may need. That's not just mental based. It's maybe something else that's outstanding, physical health, whatever it may be. But yeah, getting outside, like Russ said, and connecting with nature is one of the biggest things I think that people lack also, to try to drive that mental clarity for them, that mental health for them. Just getting outside, getting some vitamin D may help just relax you, take away a little bit of stress, clear your mind a little bit, get away from the devices, get away from the cell phones, the computers. As Russ says, disconnect,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. We've got to disconnect. We've got to unplug. And like, my buddy Dan Sikowski, a mutual friend of ours, he talked about it over the weekend. Like, the first 2 hours of the day, he doesn't look at his phone.
Yeah.
Does not look at his phone. He, wakes up, he, has breakfast, he works out, he gets in his cardio, he gets in his sweat, and he went through a physical thing just about 4 years ago. So that kind of really changed, the direction of his life, even though he was already doing stuff, but the stress level was at a all-time high. So, he looks at life a lot differently, but the importance of getting out and doing those things before we get on here, so unplugging, not just not looking at your phone and not looking at your screens first thing in the morning. That is one step that you can take, but not being totally sold out onto this device throughout the day. And it's not just this device, it's the television, it's the video games, it's other things that keep us from, not getting outside. And I said it on Saturday, how many people remember the time, if you're old enough, where your parents had to ask you to come in because you're outside playing with friends till midnight. I'm one of those. We had a hoop in the front of our house. We had lights, and we lived out kind of on a ranchette, kind of thing, but we had nothing but farmland, so it was super quiet. We'd play basketball. We'd go swimming at midnight, and finally my parents are like, all right, Russ, you guys got to come in and, kind of settle down. But we would spend so much time outside. And if I wasn't with my friends, I was out there because my next oldest brother was 7 years older than I. So I was on my own a lot, and I would find things to do outside. I pitched when I was a kid. So I had, hooked up a tire, and I would pitch into that tire, and, I'd ride my bike and, skateboard or whatever, swim in the pool. So constantly outside, where today kids are forced to be pushed to get outside, because the first thing after school that kids want to do is get on their devices. They want to go play video games. They'll talk to their friends through the video games. So this is a form of activity for them, but they do it for hours and hours and hours, wasting time. Parents have to take control of their household. They have to take control of the devices, limit what age these kids get the phones these days. That's another thing. Don't give them the phones when they're 7, 8 years old. They don't need a phone when they're 7 and 8 years old. So, get the old rotary phone, bring a phone in, and you can let them talk to their friends on the old rotary phone, So, there's a group of moms. I don't know where they are in the country, but they all bought rotary phones. So yes, so that their kids, because they're not giving them cell phones, and they could talk to their friends. Of course, there's time limit on it, but they're not sitting there scrolling. They're not texting and hours and hours and hours. They don't have to worry about. So there's ways around it. Parents, be strong, because that device can be deadly, for, getting these kids in the grind of wanting to be on their devices, playing video games, watching TV, and doing nothing other than that, which is going to lead down a destructive road to where they're not wanting to be healthy. They're not wanting to get outside. They're wanting to be just like we were during COVID. So where we're all indoors.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like a lot of that also traces back to, we're saying for mental health, because a lot of these kids, they're not getting outside, and the content that they're watching on these cell phones and these computers and the iPads and everything like that is not so great for the mind.
Yep.
And a lot of times I think just that constant being of scrolling and not getting outside, not playing, because now they're lacking the physical attribute, and now they're also weighing on the mental aspect simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that time is going to weigh on that over time. Like you said, and they're treating it like the COVID times. They're now confining themselves to a space. They're not getting outside. They're not getting the vitamin D. They're not grounding themselves outside. They're not getting the cardio aspect in. They're lacking in the mental aspect, because what they're doing is scrolling, and most likely, I can almost guarantee every single bit of what they're scrolling is not healthy for the mind. Let's just be real for it. So I'd say from that standpoint, it's also weighing on these kids. And the sad part to a degree is that it's almost there's nothing wrong with what they're doing in their mind. Nobody's pushing it the other direction. Everybody's saying, the first thing parents do when they want to try to quiet their kids down, they hand them a device. It's the first thing that they do.
100%.
And there's nothing about getting outside, the mental clarity of getting outside. It's not preached enough. And I think parents need to take on a little bit more of a role in that, as opposed to being like, here's this device, watch this, play this game. That's not really something go outside and play is not said anymore. That used to be something that we used to get told. Go outside and play, ride your bike, play basketball, whatever it may be. But yeah, now it's more so hop on this device and keep yourself distracted.
Yeah. That's it. That's it, man. Well, it's a good topic today, man. Mental health awareness
month.
The month is it's for real. So we still have a couple weeks left. So really be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of people of your friends in your community that you can step out, can ask some tough questions, help them try to seek help, take them for a walk, get them outside. These are things that we can all do, and then do it for yourself as well, because we just can't get enough of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely true. Yeah, definitely encourage everybody to, you can always reach out to me and Russ also, as we always say, reach out to us via Dual Coast, DM us, message us, email us, whatever it may be. And, we can always help you guys in the right direction if necessary. But please reach out, seek help if necessary, reach out to us. Like I said, Russ, you got anything to add to that?
Seek help. I mean, you've already said it. So, really, really good discussion this morning, because I just, bringing it to the forefront, because this is the month is super important. You and I haven't, had discussion on here just one-on-one in a long time. So this has been really, really good. And it's just, it's a critical time. Summer is upon us. Great time to be out, great time to soak up some sun, great time to get in the ocean, have some fun, frolic in the waves, I don't know, that word just came to my head. But there's just so many outdoor activities right now that are made available, across the country. And I know, you go from cold to extremely hot in some parts of the region, so really be selective at the times that you choose. Don't get out necessarily in the heat of the day when it's stifling, you got the high humidity and all that kind of stuff. But those mornings, those late afternoons, if you got a pool, that's great. If you're like the ocean, that's great. But take advantage of your surroundings, especially for these next 4 or 5 months of good weather.
Absolutely. And as always, guys, wellness is not about perfection, it's about progress. And today we focus that statement on mental health. Please take that first step toward progress. Seek help if necessary. Reach out to us, reach out to a counselor, reach out to a mental health advocate, psychologist, whoever may be, a mental health professional. We encourage that, we urge that. Please get outside, get in nature, as Russ said. Please follow us at Dual Coast Podcast. We're at all social media handles. You can reach out to Russ at russellrogers.net. I'm at Dan Skoka.
Subscribe,
like, and subscribe to our channel, please, on YouTube.
Let people know about this every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, we are at 8:30 a.m. Well, for the most part, we are at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We do have some guests that have variable times, but they are always posted on Instagram. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Dual Coast Podcast, and all social media handles. Please check us out. Please check out Russ at MoveToday365 and russellrogers.net. And as well as impact events for the rest of the year. Please check it out. We have 2 more events coming up, as we talked about earlier on in the podcast. They are in Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Russ, tell me the dates one more time in Minnesota and Pittsburgh.
We got September 19th in Minneapolis, and we have October 17th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
The Steel City.
Please check. And we will see everybody next week.